somebody but Peter coming and sharing some good news with them. He's so excited about it that he's called together all of his family members and friends. He loves them. He wants them to hear this as well. And you know, the same thing is true today. This is happening all over the place, different nations, different places, where people are just coming together and say, look, will you teach? Will you just share with us? We have some questions. We have some things that we want to talk to you about. Can you just come and spend some time? It sounds like what happened to the disciples that after Jesus had been crucified on their way back to Damascus, on their way back home, they had been dashed. Their thoughts had been, they've been disappointed and that sort of thing. And Jesus, he comes alongside them and say, what matter of conversation is this? Why are you talking like this? You remember the story back in John. And he said he actually follows them home, and he begins to teach them and tell them about why Christ had to suffer and die. Their hearts were warm, and they invited him to come into their house. And he continued on sharing with them. And so here it is, here now. In fact, they wanted him to stay. Don't leave. Stay here longer. Yes. And I know there are persons who want to know. They want their family members to know, their friends to know. And so he had invited them, and they were there. They responded. They said, well, okay, Cornelius, if you think it's like that, we want to come. We want to hear too. And so they're there. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshiped him. This is what happens sometimes when we get men mixed up with the work of God. We think men are somehow or another special and more important than any of us. And that's not true at all. I like how Peter responded. Peter took him up, grabbed him, and said, man, stand up. Don't be worshiping me. Don't be falling down towards me. We have too many of that stuff going on now in different churches and whatnot. Lifting up men above where they need to be at. And men taking it in, eating it up. In fact, demanding that people worship them and honor them in certain ways and that kind of stuff. Peter said, no, I myself also am a man. I'm just like you. And this was phenomenal because Peter's going to go ahead and say, look, it's unlawful now for me, a Jewish man, to be in your company and then to go into your house. It's unlawful. But Peter was learning something now that a lot of other people got to learn today as well. He said, I'm no different than you are. I'm no more important in the sight of God than you are. There's no difference really between me and between you. And God now is breaking down some middle walls of partition. He's breaking down stuff that divides people. He's annihilating. He's getting rid of. He's destroying whatever separates us, whatever comes that makes us think like we're different, more important, less important. God is dealing with all that stuff. Yeah, all of the tensions and stuff that's going on nowadays. We can have all kinds of meetings. We can have all kinds of seminars. We have all kinds of workshops. But you know something? If God is not in the midst of this, if God is not tearing down these walls will continue on. But look at what God is doing. He had to show something to Peter. Peter had to learn something. The Holy Ghost, the Spirit of God, had to teach him something, had to show him something, had to open up his understanding so he might be able to see something that he never saw before. He said, no, man, don't be worshiping me. Don't be adoring me. Don't think I'm somebody special. I'm more special than you are. No, I'm here because you are that special. I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that would come together. He was shocked to find there's a whole house full of Gentiles, guys that are not Jewish. And he said unto them, you know how it is an unlawful thing. Unlawful for who? Who said that? For a man that is a Jew to keep company or to come unto one of another nation. Yeah, a lot of people think like that today. If you don't believe what I believe, if you're not a part of my church, if you're not a part of my denomination, you're lost. In fact, there's some churches won't even entertain somebody else at the communion table. celebrating the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ as so exclusive, so limited in their understanding, they're thinking that they won't allow you, if you're not one of them, to be able to have communion with them. That is wild and stupid and unbiblical and ungodly. Now listen to this. But God, I like this. I got some stars right here in this verse. I just put some stars beside it. This is underline some stuff. In fact, I underlined this. But God, this is what we've been thinking. This is what our tradition has been all down through the years. This is what I've been living. This is what I've been taught. This is what I'm still thinking. This is what I'm still preaching. But God what? God has shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean. That's what happened when he had that trance, when that sheet was coming down. And when God said, don't you dare call common what I have cleansed. And I love this because now Peter is saying, I want to interpret this for you. I want you to know this is what God taught me. He told me that before you guys came, I didn't know this. I didn't believe this. My mind was not moving in that direction. But God intervened. God showed me. God taught me. In fact, he showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. I like that, any man. Any man, any man. God has done more in the lives of people all around you than you realize and you know. Remember Saul of Tarsus? They were fearful of him. He was the one who was murdering people. He was a pain in the side of the church. People were scattered. People were running from him. That he had this reputation, and he was out now to bring more people back from Damascus to Jerusalem for the same purpose. But God says, don't be fearful of him. Yeah, he's my chosen vessel. You chose Saul of Tarsus as a vessel of yours, a murderer. And our Lord said, I sure did. You got any issues with it? You got any problems with it? And so you don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. All we do is this. We're learning this. I hope you've learned it. That you and I should call no man, I don't care who he is, no woman, I don't care who she is, common or unclean, because we don't have any idea what God is doing in their lives, nor do we know what tomorrow will bring for them or the next week or the next month. And so Peter learned this so that now he can interact with Cornelius in a way that he was forbidden from interacting with him. Isn't that amazing? How even after the day of Pentecost, even after being filled with the Holy Ghost, even after preaching and teaching and people being converted, that you can still not understand the limit of God's tremendous grace and mercy towards all men, and that you in your mind and your practice and even your lawfulness can exclude people that God says, don't you exclude nobody. Because I've done far more than you can even realize or understand. I tell you, I just give God thanks and praise. This is an area for you and I to camp out on. And to just allow God to just give us more understanding about it. He says, don't call anybody. I don't care who he is in your mind and your thoughts. Don't call anybody unclean or common. And so Peter said, therefore I've come unto you without gainsaying, without question, without doubting at all. As soon as I was sent for, yes, I'm here now. I'm here now, yes. I tell you, when God deals with you and with me, guess what? We can't help ourselves but embrace the truth about what God has done for you and for me, because he said he so loved the whole wide world. Doesn't that include everybody? It sure does. That's why you can give God thanks for everybody, for your next door neighbor, everybody on your street, in your community, on your job, wherever you work at. You can just give God thanks and praise for them. I thank God I can see clearly now, yes. Shiny day. It's going to be a bright and sunshiny day. Yes, it is.
I know I can make it now. The pain is gone. All the bad feelings, they've disappeared. was the